2009. Further note that no formal notice of his absence has been transmitted to the National Assembly hitherto. Observes that all Nigerians, including members of the National Assembly, have been praying for the quick recovery and return of Mr. President to continue with his good job. Worried that unnecessary controversies regarding the leadership status of Nigeria are unduly overheating the polity. Aware that the majority opinion of Nigerians is that Mr. President transmit to the National Assembly a letter as required by Section 145 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999. Further aware that relevant court judgments have confirmed the Vice President can only operate on the delegation of Mr. President. Resolves to empathize with Mr. President over his ill health and wish him quick recovery and return to the country. Urge Mr. President to transmit a letter to the National Assembly within 2 weeks regarding his absence from the country pursuant to Section 145 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Seconder, please.
Mr. Speaker, my fellow colleagues, I am Abba Anas Adamu representing Guri Birniwa Kirika Jigawa State. I stand to second the motion as moved by Honorable Sani Abdu. I so second.
Honorable Sani Abdu, please. Chief Whip, please.
He has spoken already.
Honorable colleagues.
Honorable colleagues,
my dear colleagues, please now, Honorable Independence Ogunewe, please. Right. I'm trying to do everything possible to allow this thing to be debated, okay? So we're going to allow Honorable Sani Abdul to debate, okay? However, Honorable Halim Zagoda first.
Yeah.
Just for a second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rules. And it will be seconded so that it will be properly put in our records. Yes. Move a motion to suspend all relevant rules.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
In the light of the subject matter before Mr. Speaker, order! Suspension of all relevant rules to enable this motion to be taken by this House. I so move.
Honorable colleagues, please. Hold on now. Any seconder, please. Honorable Fasinro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am HAB Fasinro, Etiosa Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I hereby rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Halim Zagoda. Thank you.
Honorable, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say nay. Nay. I'm going to take it one more time. Okay? Please. Please. Honorable colleagues. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, aye. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker,
okay.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sani Abdul. Honorable Sani Abdul. Go ahead, please.
But I can't speak, you can't hear me. I move this motion with utmost seriousness and responsibility as a citizen of Nigeria, where I have no alternative but Nigeria. And I think matters of such importance cannot be swept under the carpet, Mr. Speaker. It must be discussed. And whichever way it takes is good for the country, because we are all representing geographical expression, population, and interest, and that is what the polity is all about, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, We have this, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which we all swore to an oath to protect and uphold.
Honorable Betty, can you take your seat?
And as a responsible parliament, we ought really to uphold this and nothing less. I thought I must also bring this debate to the national level for this. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker.
But let us make a statement.
Honorable colleagues, check your microphones, though. Check your microphone. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President is the president of everybody in Nigeria, irrespective of party affiliations, geographical expression, religious belief, creed, and everything. He is my president. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore his health quickly and come back. We have said it before, and we are saying now. Sir, I think that it's very, very important that a president of law and order, president of rule of law, president of sanctimonious Nigeria, as we have started changing Nigeria to the focus of development and progress, and to find our place in the Committee of Nations of the modern globalized world, we should follow the rule of the game and follow all the best practices that will bear Nigeria from the trough we are up to the height where we ought to be by year 2020 and then 20. Mr. Speaker, the simple thing is that a letter be transmitted, and that has an effect of, calming the nerves, the frail nerves, cooling the overheating of the polity, giving us the certainty of responsibility and focus to move us and integrate the nation to move forward. Doing otherwise, Mr. Speaker, not taking this constitutional provision and trying to bring all other means and ways to justify this oblivion, this state of tantrum, this state of uncertainty is not good for us, and that's one of the reasons why I brought. Sir, I have the court judgment. I have studied it, I read it. There is no reinventing the wheel. It has just stated the obvious. At the end of it all, it is still within the circumscription of the Constitution, nothing new. If a permanent secretary is traveling, he also delegates his responsibility to the most senior director. In the armed forces, it's like that, in the police, in civil society, and everywhere. So this is obvious. Section 5.1 has told us this issue of delegation. But, sir, within the discourse of this particular judgment, I may beg your leave to read just one paragraph. It says, whether by the combined provisions of Section 5.1 and 148.1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, the Vice President can exercise the executive powers vested in the President in the absence of the President, having regard to the circumstances of this suit. That's the suit that was before the court. Sir, I am a lay person by all consideration. I've never studied law except those in the courses that one does, which is land law, planning law, and so on. But certainly, I am not claiming anything, but as a use of English, the use of shall and the use of can presupposes two things. To me, we are transferring the discretion to the Vice President. If he feels he cannot exercise certain powers, he stays, however important they are, to move the country forward and to keep us integrated and make progress. That can there really bothered me. And I thought that the only answer to this is for him to be acting where the shall factor will be on him to serve Nigeria diligently in all its ramifications and considerations. And that is why I said that this court order, having stated the obvious, did not lift us up to the level of the Constitution. And that section 145 is sacrosanct, and I thought, and I think, any well-meaning Nigerians will definitely want it to be upheld and implemented. So, second to my final point, sir, is that those people who are thinking that by the president transmitting this letter, it's like he is sitting off power with all the divisive, oblivious, obstinate, and other considerations that are making people to be agitated and anxious in this country. I think they are wrong. Because if you read the section properly, you will see that it needs not any debate. Once it's transmitted, this one has the full power as an enacting position to do everything for the country. And there is no personal discretion, which why we elected the president to be our president. Secondly, sir, by doing that, inshallah, the moment the president is back and he notifies the National Assembly of his return, without debate, without any consideration, he is back onto his seat. I think this is good for the president himself. It's good for the government. It's good for the governed. It's good for our image. It's good for best practices. And finally, I want to seek the indulgence of Mr. Speaker because of the import of this motion being a matter of very, very national importance, to allow each and every individual shades of interest to come to bear so that the right decision is taken here. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
This is about the third time, Mr. Speaker, you are recognizing me. I'm proud to have you as my speaker. I'm also proud as a Nigerian and as a member of the
Which order, Honorable Dickson?
Privileges. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, before we go into the full debate,
we've already in the full debate.
Order 5 privileges.
Okay.
I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, if I'm wrong, you rule me out of order, please. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that it is firstly the right of every member, considering the importance of the motion moved by Honorable Abdul Sami, a great Nigerian on this floor, to contribute and vote. And Mr. Speaker, may I suggest, therefore, that we need not rush this motion today.
I'm not rushing.
Let every member, yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for speaking so well. We are proud to have you. Can we have a system whereby we define the ground rules in accordance with the handbook and the Constitution, which gives every member the privilege to be heard if he or she wishes to say something right or wrong? The majority, as usual, will have their way.
All right.
The minority, that's it.
Honorable,
Mr. Speaker, rule on it, sir.
Honorable Dickson.
Mr. Speaker, we are, as a nation, we are, as a parliament, on the crossroad of history. A moment like this, it is not emotions, it is not sentiment, it's not opposition, but we must be guided by the rule of this country. We must be guided by the Constitution. We must be guided by legislative powers and privileges and our house rules. We are not here this afternoon, honored members of the House, as just other Nigerians. We are here as a parliament, parliamentarians representing all shades of opinion for and on behalf of this country. The critical thing that we must examine, first and foremost, who are we? What is our job? The role of the parliament. And in trying to answer the role of the parliament, we must know our jurisdiction, we must know our limitation, and we must know we are operating a system that recognizes separation of powers and the constitutional jurisdiction of the executive the judiciary, and the legislature. Mr. Speaker, let me start, that is the separation of powers. Let me start with the executive. We have, under this particular matter, had what is the role of the executive in section 145 that deals with the Federal Executive Council. Not only do we recognize that role as a constitutionally enshrined in the Constitution, we have had properly constituted authority interpreting that role. That is a very critical aspect of what the mover of the motion has said. We have also had critically section 144, which deals with transmission of data. 145, which deals with transmission of the data. We have also had, Mr. Speaker, the critical section of 5, which also deals with delegated authority of the president given to the vice president. In all these things, we are comforted by the fact that a court of law has interpreted these sections not once, not 2 times, not 3 times. Mr. Speaker, as a parliament, we cannot, no matter how we feel about it, we cannot give what we do not have. What we do not have, we cannot give. We cannot usurp other people's power and then arrogate ourselves, no matter how we feel about it. A lot of issues have been discussed as we must transmit. We must ask the president to transmit a letter. And you look at section 145, and you look at the discretionary powers of the president. We did not produce this constitution. We did not frame this constitution, and there is no way, Mr. Parliament and Mr. Speaker, this parliament will say the president must or shall, because this is what the motion is requiring the president to do, or this is what the motion is asking this parliament to say to the president, that you must transmit this letter. I, as a person, Mr. Speaker, I have no problem if the vice president acts as the president. In fact, I do not have any problem if tomorrow comes, the vice president becomes the president. And I equally have no problem if I'm accused of obedience to the rule of law. It is very critical for us, Mr. Speaker, as a parliament to know, no matter what anybody will look at you and say, let's be guided according to the rules of this country. Let's be guided by the constitutionality of this issue. A judgment has been given just last Friday between the Nigerian Bar Association and the Attorney General of the Federation. The synopsis of the judgment, Mr. Speaker, the Judge Abutu was very clear. The judgment was distributed amongst members, and he was very, very clear that you, the vice president of this country, you have delegated unfettered access, unfettered authority to do what the president was doing. The question that we must ask ourselves